Big Abby pumps you hook up. Holler if you hear her. Who else is excited for season 2 of The Last of Us? I know I'm not, because I didn't watch the first season. I have zero interest in doing as much. But I find a couple of aspects of the teaser trailer that dropped a little while ago very, very interesting, because in so much as I didn't play The Last of Us Part 2, and I hold the first game in relatively high regards, it's of course diminished with a bunch of the controversy around it, but I remember, if I'm to properly assess that game, I would say the gameplay is still about a 5. Like, there was nothing revolutionary about it. It was just repurposing a stripped down version of Uncharted combat with a bunch of other dilapidated mechanics and just a laughable stealth system with about a story that would probably resonate in on and around an 8. I would really have to go back and fully experience it, but yeah, it could be somewhere between a 7 and an 8 as best as I can remember, but I played it once in 2013 and I've just kind of locked that away. Wow, that's 12 years ago at this point in time, but the way that I recall and the way that I experienced The Last of Us Part 2 in 2020, like so many of you guys did as well, is through a bit of catharsis through other people who were playing it and navigating the minefield that Naughty Dog was setting up, tanking their reputation and putting Neil Druckmann on Front Street as enemy numero uno in all of gaming, somebody who anoints themselves as the savior of the intellectual masses, somebody who's going to drag the troglodytes out of their mother's basement and elevate video games to a much more higher art plane. But in reality, he has only managed to just re-release the slop time and time again, and now have to walk back some of his older comments as to certain aesthetics and certain characters in The Last of Us Part 2, his own personal magnum opus. Can't wait to see what he has in store for Intergalactic Girl Boss. God, that's going to be a disaster. But The Last of Us Season 2's Kaitlyn Dever discusses Abby role and taking on such a large fandom. That's not so much okay, cool. There's a couple of different ways to approach that. Such a large fandom. Well, for the first game, yes, but now at this point in time, like, the season 1 did reasonably well, but oh my god, HBO's running into this problem once again. Like, season 1 came out, what was that, 2022? You got a 3-year gap here, bro. 2 or 3 year gap from the first season coming out. It's just so unmemorable. I can't even remember when it first came out. I think it was 2022, might be 2023. But regardless of that, like, multiple years between this, and then you've got you're adapting one of the most divisive games in history. I wouldn't say there's much of a fandom. There's a few freaks that are out there that probably don't even have legit HBO subscriptions, so they can't watch it when it's streaming on Max. Then you've got detractors of this game hoping that it fails because the source material is so poisonous. And then you probably have some other people who kind of liked season 1 and hoping that through all doubt there's such deviation where they can manage to repair a little bit of this game, and they can repair some of the narrative that's kind of, but there's not a lot of good in The Last of Us Part 2, okay? And that's not just because it's dour and it's about it's a commentary on the cycle of violence. No, it was just written by an idiot who is, of course, the executive producer on this, who has said that they're going to be faithful to the source material, because yeah, we know how much Neil Druckmann loves himself. But Kaitlyn Dever, it's decent casting for Abby, okay, outside of the very obvious thing, because okay, you take a look at her right there, and yeah, she was in the teaser trailer, and everybody's like, oh boy, how are you going to approach this? How are you going to approach a character who looked like this before in 2020 and now looks a little bit more traditional this time around? How are you gonna go ahead and reconcile that? HBO's The Last of Us Season 1 saw a popular Naughty Dog gaming title mirrored onto the small screen for the first time in 2023. Yeah, okay, it was at the beginning of 2023. And since then, the massive fan base can't wait to see how Season 2 will play out. Yeah, exactly. And how much it will be a faithful adaptation, because of the people that are looking forward to this. It's like, okay, cool. Season 1 was reasonably faithful to the first game, but you went through all of the source material that everybody can come around to and say, yeah, that's the good stuff, only to fast track the second game, and you're going to try to prolong that as long as possible. I don't know, man. Only a few more months go before Pedro Pascal and Bella Ramsey grace eager viewers with their incredible acting talents. Well, okay, like, Pedro's fine, and Bella Ramsey can pull off a couple of scenes, but leading man and woman material, I mean, Have you seen that blockhead on Bella? It's like, that's not putting any asses in any seats. That's not driving any subscriptions at all. Kaitlyn Dever talks about her upcoming role as the controversial Abby Anderson. I'm sorry, it's Abby Steiner, and you better fucking correct yourself moving forward. Okay? Got it. Season 1 of The Last of Us gave fans a beautiful look at the romantic yet sad narrative of Bill and Frank. Yes, the big gay love story that they wanted to find a way to work in there, even though, yes, Bill and Frank, they were very much, they were integral side characters for, oh God, one of the early chapters. Like I said, it's been a long time, 12 years since I played the game. I think it came out in like March of 2013. It was something like that. It was early in the year as well, so yeah. Like, Bill was a decent character. Frank was already dead at that point in time when season 1 came around, but dedicating an entire episode, and if you know anything about the meta there, the guy who directed that, you know, wanted to sneak that in there. That was their entire purpose, and that was their modus operandi for making episode 3 the way that it was. It ended up driving off a fairly sizable portion of the audience, but I digress. It seems as though season 2 will deviate away from the source in at least a few areas in the inclusion of a new character like Catherine O'Hara as Joel's apparent therapist. Oh, Jesus Christ. As well as changes to Abby's muscular figure. That was a huge part of the character's makeup in The Last of Us Part 2. Yeah, something that was central and integral to the role and to the character of Abby, according to Neil Druckmann. But now, well, we'll get to it. We'll get to it. In the sequel, Abby Anderson is a member of the Fireflies who becomes completely broken at the death of her father and makes it her mission to avenge his demise in any way possible, which offers up a unique and compelling narrative. Now, as Kaitlyn Dever takes on the role of the stoic character, the actor reveals what it's like to be a part of a massive fandom. So, has she decided to attack fans? Because I haven't pre-read this yet, but I haven't heard anything about it, so who knows. Speaking of Variety, Kaitlyn Dever revealed that she was learning every day just how to move forward in this new world of The Last of Us fandom, and that she was approached for the role of Abby with authenticity and honesty, also being a flush of her own energy. Bringing a flush of her own energy to the character. Dever also expressed that she will be stepping into the shoes of Abby with the same work ethic, well, hopefully the same lift ethic as well, that she does with all her roles, but that it was important to her that she did the character justice. Well, if you're just coming into the fandom, how do you know if you're going to be doing the character justice? But maybe you did your homework. Okay, that's fine, and I hope that people enjoy what I do with that. So yeah, okay, so yeah, she's got a fairly positive attitude on that one. That's fantastic, but she's still going to end up having to regurgitate the slop that Neil Druckmann's going to provide her, and yeah, this is where enthusiasm and optimism leaves the building. The Last of Us live-action show changes Abby's physique, while Neil Druckmann claims we pander to no one. A show could continue past season 2 despite the lack of source material, which, yeah, in season 2, like, I know enough about the story of The Last of Us Part 2. Like, it's been a minute. Like, for as much as I can remember playing through Part 1, like, I've watched several reviews, I watched gameplay of Part 2. I don't remember much of it. Like, it was just a slog to get through, okay? But one thing's for certain, if they want to string out this show for multiple seasons based on one game that is admittedly fairly long, and Pedro Pascal is supposed to be in it for at least a little while, they're going to be adapting, if they're staying faithful to the source material, about 30 minutes of the game. It's going to be a little tough to wring out all of the meaning there, but okay, we'll see what happens. Season 2 of HBO's The Last of Us live-action TV series is on its way. In a recent interview with Entertainment Weekly, the showrunner hinted at the series based on the beloved video game, which one, is far from over, despite there being no source material after season 2. Well, yeah, because Naughty Dog's not working on The Last of Us Part 3. A search for thumbs. They're working on product placement, the space traveling epic. They are, yes, confirmed that the character of Abby will have a different physique in the game, while claiming that they pander to no one. Yeah, they just unfortunately have to pander to reality. The Last of Us series, both the game and the live action adaptation, have been a controversial topic for quite a while, mainly centered around the developer Naughty Dog's dismissing fans' concerns regarding Part 2 and copyright striking YouTube videos on the subject. Yeah, this unfortunately kicked off just before I hopped onto YouTube. I put out my first video, late August, but by that point in time, all of the Last of Us Part 2 stuff was already in full swing, and hell, the game was already in its death throes by that point in time, and I was more focused on politics. So I kind of regret not being in on this, but hey man, You do what you can with the time that you're afforded. Season 1 of the live-action series retold the first game. Season 2 will cover the second. Naughty Dog director and series showrunner Neil Druckmann, boo, evidently intends to keep the show going. If true, Season 3 and any other seasons will be completely fresh material. Or if they just decide to, lengthen out the second game into multiple seasons, I could see them doing that, which is like, why didn't you do that for Season 1? There's so many interesting things that you could have done. There were some characters that you could have fleshed out, like there was the black father and son stuff. Like, that was heartbreaking. Could add a little story arc for an entire season with them and how that ends up going. Cannibals could have got multiple episodes, just working and fleshing out more with the Fireflies. But no, you needed to fast track to all of Neil Druckmann's fanfic. The question is, how do they go about it? Joel died early in the second game. Spoilers, I guess. So it's expected that the show will follow that chain of events. As long as they yell 4 before, they'll be fine. Pedro Pascal, who plays Joel in the live-action series, believes his character's death will be much different from the game. Yeah, mostly because it's probably going to come at the end of the season instead of, halfway through the first episode. However, there's no confirmation of this yet. Yeah, because he could have just filmed a bunch of different flashbacks. Like, that's possible. Okay, they could be sticking true to the source material, but then again, if they're doing that, they're going to be driving off more fans than any gay episode possibly could. Additionally, Abby, the character who's supposed to kill Joel, has undergone some changes from the show. For instance, it appears she won't have her masculine, buff, 8% body fat physique like in the game. In The Last of Us Part 2, she is depicted as having a bodybuilder's torso, 24-inch python's brother, broad shoulders, and a back. It could double as a coffee table. The series co-showrunner Craig Mazin explains this by stating, "I personally think that there's an amazing opportunity here to delve into someone who is perhaps more physically vulnerable than the Abby in the game, but whose spirit is stronger. And that the question is, where does her formidable nature come from, and how does it manifest? That's something that will be explored." That will be explored now and later. Oh, God, the pretentious horseshit. Just, ugh. Yo, this is a writer's room that locks all the doors, it seals all the windows, and just huffs each other's farts for 8 hours a day. Ugh. In the interview, Neil Druckmann gave his thoughts on the changes of the story, dropping a few hints on what he has in store. I don't care. Druckmann is more aware of the controversy around The Last of Us than anyone. Yeah, because he was very antagonistic to it, in fact. Yes, he was more or less at the center of it. Oddly, he doesn't seem bothered by it at all in the interview, even though, yeah, he continues to reference it and continues to poke fun, because he is, in fact, a very petty man who is walking a very dangerous line. With Season 2 of this adaptation, could be successful. The Last of Us could have been one of the biggest Sony gaming franchises out there, but this asshole right here is a loud and proud acolyte of Anita Sarkeesian. He is one of her most devout followers, and all of her principles trickle over into whatever slop he writes. So yeah, I don't have hope for Season 2 of The Last of Us. I don't have hope for Intergalactic, the heretic prophet, and I don't have hope for anything that Naughty Dog does under current leadership. So with all that said, thank you all very much for the gift of your time. I've been Don Consuelo. I want you to follow your gut and get after it. And once again, holler if you hear me.